Hey guys, it's Amber with Lonstein Fitness, and today you might see some snapshots with Spike in them as we talk about fats and why they're really not that bad for your body. So fun fact, fat does not automatically get stored as fat in your body. So some people think that eating a big piece of cake is going to go straight to my hips and stored as fat, and that's just simply not how our body works. It's not how it stores fat for you. Anything that you eat in excess gets converted to glucose and stored as fat in the body, but just because you're eating fat doesn't mean that it's going to be stored as fat in your body. Fat actually has a lot of uses in our body, and I want to debunk a lot of the myths surrounding fats because it's something I'm very passionate about. Fats, in fact, are good for us. Just like carbs and proteins, having a right amount of fats in your body is essential for our body to function. Fats are a predominant source of energy for us. They protect our vital organs. They keep our body temperature normal. They help vitamins travel through our bloodstream. They're going to steady hormone levels, which is great for mood and everything else that hormones do in our body. High-fat foods tend to have better flavor and texture, and they keep you fuller longer. And the best part is fats are essential for brain development and growth. As a pre- and postnatal trainer specialist, this is something I'm also very passionate about because having the right amount of healthy fat in your body helps to develop your growing baby's brains. And when you continue to breastfeed, it also helps your supply and helps the baby's brains continue to grow for their year of life or however long that you breastfeed for. So this is especially important for my pregnant women and for kids too. Our brains are developing all the way through our 20s, but especially in those first 5 years. So it's important that our kids are getting the right amount of healthy fats in their body as well. When you look on the back of a label, you're gonna see the fats are categorized into 4 different categories. You're gonna have unsaturated fats, saturated fats, trans fats, and then cholesterols are also considered fats. Unsaturated fats are generally referred to as the healthy fats, the ones that you don't need to worry about, and that's true for most of them. So you don't have to think twice if something contains an unsaturated fat. For years, the government has looked at saturated fats as a leading cause of heart disease, but there has been recent research that actually disproves this, which is really good to understand. What they found was the type of saturated fat was actually what was making the difference in the rise in cardiovascular rates. So think of a donut versus a coconut. Coconut is a naturally occurring saturated fat that is healthy for you. A donut has lots of saturated fats and it's not healthy for you. Donuts have preservatives, they have added sugars, they're cooked in oil. It's just not good for you to choose a donut. You can easily see how it's actually the type of saturated fat that you're choosing to eat that's causing the rise in cardiovascular disease, not necessarily the fact that it's just strictly a saturated fat. So with that one, it's good to know the difference between what I would call like a naturally occurring fat versus a preservative-filled man-made fat. Trans fats are the granddaddy of all bad fats. This is gonna be something that's fried. So anytime you go to a restaurant, a lot of the food that you're eating is fried, especially if you're going fast food. These are also found in a lot of snack foods like chips, crackers, and stuff like that. So you really want to look on the back of your labels and limit the trans fats as much as you can. It's a denaturized fat that our bodies just do not process well, so it should be eliminated as much as possible. Now, cholesterol is essential for our body to function properly. When you hear people talking about cholesterol, you're going to hear HDL versus LDL, high density versus low density lipoprotein. Lipoprotein is just a fancy word for fat. HDLs are often referred to as your good cholesterol. LDLs are referred to often as your bad cholesterol. That's because too many LDLs in your bloodstream can actually block your arteries and increase your risk of heart disease. Not good stuff. HDLs, on the other hand, if you have a lot of them, is good for you and it will actually reduce your risk of heart disease. So it's good to know the difference between those two. When you hear cholesterol, people freak out, but it's not that all cholesterol can be grouped the same. Also, you might hear doctors telling people to limit eggs because it can raise their cholesterol. That's not true. I'll talk more about that later, but always take nutrition advice or even fitness advice that doctors like to give to the right professional. Doctors are medical professionals, and you want to be seeing a dietitian, nutritionist, or even a personal trainer for the other recommendations. So I want to talk about some healthy and some not so good sources of fat, so you can kind of see how this will look in your daily life, your daily diet. And I use diet as a loose term. I'm not saying diet because I'm restricting your calories. I'm saying diet because that's what it's called when you eat what's in your diet. Healthy options for fat are obviously going to include avocado. We all know that. Eggs, grass-fed butters, olives, fish, dark chocolate, full-fat milk products, extra virgin olive oil, nuts, coconut. And some not good fat options are going to be your donuts, your fast foods, your corn chips, desserts, margarines. Most of us know what the bad fats are, and those tend to be the ones we like. It is worth noting though on eggs. When it comes to eggs, they're this beautiful thing from nature where the yolk and the white complement each other so perfectly in vitamins and minerals. They help absorb the vitamins and minerals from each part of the egg. So I encourage my clients to eat the entire egg, not just egg whites. Some people like to limit the egg yolk because it's more calorie dense. If you're a bodybuilder, maybe that's something you should worry about. But for the average person trying to lose weight and get the most vitamins and minerals for their body to function properly, let's just eat that egg altogether. Watch your labels. The fat scare that's been that over the last 50 years when we're talking about saturated fats, our government has really taken advantage of that, and they've been labeling products as healthier or reduced fat when in reality it's not that simple. If you see something that's labeled low fat, reduced fat, or no fat, let's say like yogurt for instance. If the yogurt is labeled low fat, that means that they took the fat out of the product. But like we talked about before, the fat gives it good texture and taste. So they have to replace that fat with something. And the majority of the time it's going to be sugar or some kind of artificial sweetener, which is just as bad for your body. Actually, it's probably worse for your body. So you definitely want to check the labels on things that say reduced fat. They're most likely full of sugar, or the ingredients list is not the best. So I tend to go for whole fat products. They're less processed. It has the naturally occurring fats in the yogurts and milks that are supposed to be there. It's just easier on our body to absorb that way. Another thing the industry does is it can claim to be 100% fat-free, and there might even still be fat in the product too. Be wary of labels and what they claim is all natural and fat-free, reduced fat, because most of the time it's just a selling line to get you to buy their product. So what are my recommendations? Generally, you should be eating 20 to 30% of your daily intake should be coming from those fats. If you are pregnant, you should be leaning on the higher end of that scale. If you're breastfeeding, higher end. If you're a child, higher end on that scale, because you are growing brains and they're so important for us. So make sure you're getting enough healthy fats. Now, of course, I want you choosing the healthier options that I listed above, mostly unsaturated fats and the healthier saturated fats that we talked about. Of course, if you're like me, you're gonna be splurging a little bit on dessert, and that's okay too, but just make sure the majority of those fats are coming from the healthy options. I hope you learned a lot about fats today and what makes them healthy and why they're necessary for our body, so that you are not eliminating them from your diet, but rather encouraging healthy options for yourself so your body can function the most efficiently. And we'll see you next week for another nutrition lesson.